Hello and welcome to Food Service with a Heart, a podcast series from Foodservice Consultant Society International, FCSI. I'm Tina Nielsen. I'm the editor of FCSI's quarterly magazine, Foodservice Consultant. In this podcast, we speak to people from hospitality and food service who affect positive change in the world beyond the kitchen. Food Service with a Heart is supported by Vulcan Equipment. Check out their website on www.vulcanequipment.com. In this episode, I speak with FCSI Associate Andrey Teleguz from Scopos Hospitality Group in Pennsylvania. Andrey, thank you so much for joining me for this second episode of the Food Service with a Heart podcast. How are you doing?
Doing great.
Good. If you could start off really by telling me a little bit about yourself, your area of expertise, and what's your background? Where do you come from?
Yeah, certainly. So I'm a Ukrainian refugee that we came to the States in 1989. It was a long journey through Vienna and then Rome, and then we got political refugee status and came to the States and was able to pursue my career and dreams, and things fell in place, and I became a food service designer. So through the many years, the opportunities lined themselves up, and I worked at a millwork shop, then worked for a dealer, and in 2009, I started my food service design firm.
How old were you when you got to the States?
I was 9 years old.
Okay. So the memories of Ukraine are fairly distant now.
They were very distant, and they were kind of this black and white and gray memory, especially because we fled as enemies of the state at that time from the former Soviet Union. So there was not many happy memories of the regime we were leaving behind. But I got a chance to go back about 7 years ago and see Ukraine and visit all my home town and the home where I was born, and that kind of refreshed a lot of those memories.
Okay, all right. So we're going to talk about affecting, I guess, positive change or having a positive influence in the community beyond the restaurant and the kitchen and I guess the design room. You've operated in the food service sector for a long time now. How do you see the food service and hospitality sector? Is there a spirit of generosity?
Yeah, there is. I was really surprised at the openness and willingness of the food service industry to help with the needs that came up during the crisis and when it initially just started. Because when the war started, we opened a Ukraine refugee fund, and I was able to reach out to the industry, and there was a lot of support to help with the work that we were doing, and that was very humbling to see how the industry came together.
So you launched this fundraising initiative very, very quickly after the war started in Ukraine. How did it come about? Was it an instinctive thing to do for you, or kind of talk me through the process of starting that?
Yeah, I mean, when the war started, I think it was the second day of the war. It was first day was a shock and just unbelief that this is happening back home, because I have family in both countries, and I am married to a Russian woman. And for us, this is not happening. I mean, this is brother against brother, literally. I mean, we're Slavic people. Ukraine and Russia are Slavic people. So it was really odd and strange that was happening, and it still is. It's very hard to comprehend. So the second day of the war, when that happened, first day we went through the shock. Second day, okay, we have to do something. So we immediately reached out to some of our friends here in the States and said, listen, we're here for a reason, and back home we have our relatives, our families that are going to need immediate help. So what we did is we immediately booked a full camp in Poland so that we could help with the refugees that are fleeing from Ukraine. And we flew a crew from here, from Lancaster to Poland, and they were able to meet the refugees, and we were able to provide them a home at the camp in Poland and process them and help them move on to other countries, and including here in US.
You say, so you booked a camp?
Yeah, it was a big summer camp that typically is open for summer. I think it was like a 200 unit camp or so. Had a commercial kitchen, had a dining room, and had all the different lodges and apartments. And so that was looking back right now, that was very critical, quick thinking, and it was really helped us a lot. And we I think we sent like at least 500 refugees through that camp at that time.
So the fundraising must have accelerated pretty quickly as well then.
It did. We actually raised over $1 million pretty quick through the different connections and community, and we were doing bake fundraisers and barbecue fundraisers here in Lancaster County, and the local media and press was helpful as well, and it was really impressive how the whole community came together, including the Russian side as well. So.
That's nice. And so you say you set up a camp there. Can you describe a little bit more about what the project actually entailed? What did you do to help?
Yeah, so in addition to that, I mean, we were buying food in bulk in Romania, containers of food, and Poland as well. And then I have relatives back in Ukraine still that are doing this work. We would ship those containers into Ukraine, and they would break them down into personal care packages. And we also, through our fund, we actually bought 7 microvans in Germany that we brought over to Ukraine, and were able to provide those vans and then distribute to all those different war zones in Ukraine. So these personal care packages was about food supply for about maybe a family of 4 or 5 for 3 or 4 days, and it had everything in there. It had oil, flour, sugar, and different type of food, dry goods, and canned meat and things like that. And that was then distributed to the different hot points. It was very risky work. We actually lost a couple of drivers that were shot during the distribution, or their vans were completely destroyed as well. But we were really impressed at the resilience of our contacts back in Ukraine. They would come back from a trip to say, "Hey, load me up. I want to go back." It was a lot. It was a lot of work. We felt like we were doing a lot here in the States by, trying to raise funds and trying to purchase the containers and ship them. But then when we were seeing what they were doing back home and the risk that they were putting their lives in front of us was really kept us going, because we've seen a purpose and difference in that.
It must have been quite difficult to be so far away from the action, so to speak.
Oh, trust me, I thought of going there multiple times, but my wife was not going to let me do that. Because she knew I'd probably hop on one of those vans and go on one of those trips, right? That's just I know I wouldn't be able to hold myself back from that.
Yeah.
But she said I needed more here.
Well, I mean, you clearly did a lot of work on the ground at home. So, what's the current status of the project now then?
Well, we kind of pivoted the project to more immediate needs, and have a really exciting program that we're currently working on, and that's helping the kids of the families that lost their dads in the war. So just last month, we had a group of 28 kids hosted here in US by our program, where we were able to secure a special program for them and able to get them visas. They went to Krakow, flew in here for a month. We had hosting families, Ukrainian diaspora hosting families lined up like myself, and paired those children with those parents. So we hosted two girls. We hosted a 14-year-old and a 15-year-old girl, both of which, lost their dads in the war. So all of these kids lost their dads. They had still have a mom back home. So mom, it was a lot of work to work with mom and say, hey, let your child during time of war goes to a different country. But we were able to convince them that it's safe. And they were able to come here to the States. We had a special program where, first week it was just, unwind, relax. Second week, we had a special therapy camp with a licensed therapist, working with them how to deal with loss. The third week was, different trips. We took him to DC, we took him to Hershey Park, we took him to different museums. We took him to Ukrainian embassy in Washington, DC as well. And so all those different programs and really bonded with those children. So even for us, we adopted two girls, right, to that level. And they consider us their parents. So it was very emotional, very life-changing for both of us. And that was the goal of that program. It was to create these connections for those children back home so that they have a conduit to hope, vision, future, and connect them with Ukrainian families here in US that could potentially help them in their life path forward, as difficult as it might, seem for them now at this point.
And that's just been a kind of a natural continuation of the program you started when the war broke out.
Yeah, correct. I mean, we're kind of trying to deal with the outfalls of war, and that's a very big immediate need because these children are, they're growing, they're asking questions, they need support, and we're hoping to bring at least 1,000 kids through this program. So we were piloting this program internally. So this was we were learning on ourselves. Hey, how's this going to work? Is it going to work? But it worked out really well. So right now we're kind of more or less writing an operating manual how to host a group of children, and then we're going to be reaching out to a greater Ukrainian diaspora nationally and kind of rolling this out and looking for communities in all the major cities. So the next group is actually going to be in Philadelphia. So we're working with that community there to host the next group.
So presumably that is a considerable cost as well. So the fundraising continues.
It is. It wasn't cheap. It was about it cost about $80,000 for us for that group, just direct costs. That's flights and all of the different expenses to get them here. Obviously, the hosting families also contributed with any incidental expenses, but it was well worth it.
Yeah. Okay. So before you launched this project, had you done any non-profit work in the same kind of sense of what you're doing now, or is this your first experience of kind of large-scale community work?
Yeah, no, I haven't. I haven't been part of any nonprofit work other than my work at the church and a local church here. But we learn as we go, and it was not about necessarily, hey, we're going to open a nonprofit and we're going to do this work. It was a quick reaction to the immediate need that we felt was really a direct calling for us.
Yeah. What have you learned from the experience?
Well, I mean, I think what actually I learned and experienced is that we can make a difference. We're we live in a small town in Pennsylvania, outside of Philadelphia, and no one has heard of us before. But when there's a strong cause and strong purpose, and there's a vision, we can make big change, and we can provide big impact globally. And what I learned is that the industry, the food service industry, is very tight as well. And it was amazing how easy it was to reach out and gather support for the cause.
Has it changed how you live or how you do business? Has it changed your approach to life in any way?
Well, it definitely had. We as immigrants, we came here in '89, right? And I think we settled down and we started enjoying the American life and building the American dream. But we often, I think, forget where we come from, right? And I think this experience really helped me to remind myself, hey, we came from a place that doesn't have those freedoms necessarily, doesn't have those opportunities, and that there's still people there that maybe need some of that help and support and guidance and vision, and just made me a little bit more humble and appreciative of what I have and what I was able to build here in the States, to be a leading food service design firm nationally, and by having those connections, utilizing them for a good cause.
Yeah. Do you think within food service and hospitality, do you think there has been a change in the approach to nonprofit work, or how much do you think it's an important part of hospitality now? Because there's a lot of positive things being done by people beyond the kitchen.
Yeah, and I think food is the one thing that always brings everybody together. It's how we break bread and we sign, negotiations between different countries, right? It brings families together. It brings everybody to one table, and I think utilizing that platform, uniting people together around a table, and I think through food and through those resources and through that type of a conversation, we can make a easier difference than maybe another media.
Yeah. Okay. So Andrey, what's next for this project?
So I'm actually, seeing the big impact that we were able to create and the opportunity out there, and understanding that this crisis isn't over, and that there would be a long path to rebuilding and getting back. So what we are trying to do is kind of simplify and create a process where we can continue to provide impact and provide a clean pathway to support our efforts. So I'm in the process of actually registering a nonprofit that will kind of outline everything we've done so far and our vision and goals for the future, and maybe perhaps enable a lot of our industry partners to participate if they want to continue making a difference.
Okay. Well, that sounds like a wonderful project, and more work for you.
Yeah.
Well, I wish you all the best with your project, and congratulations on all the work and all that you have achieved so far. It really is impressive what you've accomplished. So good luck with it from here onwards, and I look forward to hearing more about it.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening to this episode of FCSI's Food Service with a Heart podcast. I'd like to thank our sponsor, Vulcan Equipment, for supporting the series. Check out their website on www.vulcanequipment.com. Please also check out the FCSI website, fcsi.org, for more articles and virtual content. Thank you, and have a great day.